Okay, let's try this again, you guys. Let's see. Can we get you there? Yeah, there we go. Okay, let me turn this down so we don't get an interruption. There we go. So as I was saying before I got the phone call last, we have a little company with us today. I have one of my babies who's he's acting out today. Aren't you, Gordo? You're acting out? He's acting out today, so he doesn't want to act right. So he's screaming, he's eating, and he wants to get out and run around and play, and I have to watch him because I don't want him pooping and peeing everywhere. So it's too dark to let him out in the yard, so I'm keeping him in with me. We don't want any raccoons grabbing hold of him, and Mama and Daddy, you know, I don't want to have to try and find them all out in the yard, so I'm keeping them up here with me. And so this is one of our babies. They were born on Christmas, and this is Gordo. So if this is your first time joining us, my name is LaShawn Wilburn. I'm actually the founder of Hamaji. We're a nonprofit out of Houston, Texas. I support mental health family caregivers who are supporting their loved ones. Five aims. Thank you so much for coming in. And I help family caregivers to customize their caregiving journey by helping them to better streamline their care demands throughout the day, their care duties, and to actually juggle between their care demands and self-care. Okay, so that's who I am. I normally come in and do my scopes Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays now. So I have a new scope schedule. It's also in the title of my with my name, and so that's who I am. Excuse me. So to all of my, I forgot to welcome in my replay viewers, my scope. My catch viewers and my web viewers, because I started before and then I got a phone call kicked me out. And so I wanted to give you guys a welcome, and I very much appreciate my live viewers. So thank you guys for coming in. Today on all of my social media sites, I did a blog, and I do my blogs. Okay, baby, I do my blogs on both Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Lindsay, can you let Sierra outside for me, baby? That's my big dog, his mommy. And so I do my blogs on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And so today, the title of the blog was, How Do I Keep Going When No One Seems to Care But Me? Caregiver Resilience, You Really Are Strong. And so I did this blog because I work with a lot of caregivers offline, and I work with caregivers online. Okay, thank you, baby. You can leave it open. I work with caregivers online and through Instagram and Facebook. And what I noticed was an increase this week there was a lot of difficulty going on with caregivers this week in terms of supporting of our loved ones, including for me, myself. For those of you who are new to the scope, I'm a survivor myself of depression and anxiety. And I'm also a family caregiver for my son who has a mental illness. And so we as caregivers on a day-to-day basis, we can face many ups and downs. We can face, we just never know what our day is going to entail. And so I know in my experience as a caregiver, we can have long stretches of where everything's going fine. And then we can have a hiccup to come, something that's a trigger, and can stop progress, set us back with our loved one. Our loved one can suffer something as, a emotional setback, right? And so we have to be prepared for ourselves, first of all, because that's a very stressful time for us. It can be a very stressful time for our loved ones, first of all, because they are the ones who have to, handle the symptoms that come up as a result of the triggers. And for us as family caregivers, we have to be prepared mentally, emotionally, and physically, that we are getting enough sleep, right? That we are, seeing to our self-care. We're taking time out during the course of our day to make sure that we're attending to our needs. And so, excuse me, I say that because if we are not, I did a scope this morning, and I work out in the morning by walking. I walk almost a half a mile every day. and round trip it's a mile. And for me, that's a good start because, okay, that's a good start because I'm getting myself back to the point where I can build up, my strength and be able to do more and go further, right? And so, but that's, for me, that's a start. For me, that's a good place to make sure that I'm sticking to my my own self-care, right? And so we want to make sure that we're taking the time out, to see to our own self-care. Working out helps to reduce our stress. It helps to reduce our anxiety. It helps us to get through the very tough times that we may go through and endure as we try to support a loved one who may be struggling and may be, experiencing symptoms of their illness. And so this week I encountered a family caregiver who had very much difficulty right now as there was not much support from family. They're suffering physical ailments themselves. And so there's a lot of challenges there. And so as I spoke with them, as I talk with them online and explain to them, it's very important that you are able to reach out. It's very important that you are telling people that you're in trouble. Because if you have physical illnesses yourself, right, and you are suffering with, your own issues in terms of possibly your own mental health issues, it's important that you're reaching out and talking to people about what you're experiencing. It's important that you are going to the doctor and checking on how you're doing, making sure that you're okay. Because the last thing you want to happen is for you to become so physically ill that you wind up, in the house and, pass out or something and no one knows, When I talk to a caregiver and they tell me there's no one they can talk to, there's no one who knows what they're going through, bells go off as an emergency. Because if there's no one to check on you, to know if you're doing okay, and you're having your own physical challenges, then what happens if something happens to you and no one hears from you, right? So it's important to have those things in place, even if it's just a neighbor. To say, hey, so-and-so, I'm not doing too well, I may be experiencing blood pressure or something. And tell my neighbor, hey, I may not, come out as often, but if you don't mind, would you come by and check on us or something, right? You can't do this thing by yourself. It's just not a rational thing to do. It's dangerous not just to your loved one, but to yourself. Because if you wind up passing out, and no one knows and your loved one is incapacitated and is unable to, call for help, then that's a very serious place to be. And so today when I did my my blog, I focused on the fox. And I told, in the blog I shared how when I was a young girl, my grandfather actually used story times to, keep us relaxed, to entertain us, to, give us a moral of a story, or teach us something, a life lesson. And so I used today the fox, which is a solitary animal. And I showed how, most of the times when we see foxes, they're out by themselves, right? They are, excuse me, I'm trying to get situated and not wake him up, but my back is killing me today. Excuse me. And so, when the fox is going out, we see videos or pictures of foxes. You rarely see them two in a picture. Look it up on Google. You don't very much see more than one fox in a picture because they go out a lot alone. They are by nature solitary animals, but they do, come together for mating, right? And then there's the care for the pups. And I bought my puppy on here. I was going to bring one anyway, but I bought this puppy on here because he's the screamer. But I wanted to, express to you how important it is, because even the fox knows that at some point they need someone to come in and help. And it brought up in the article I read today, the fox has a sister fox, or they have a daughter from a previous litter that is there left to take care of the pups while she goes out and hunts and take care of the things she needs to in order to continue to feed the family, right? And so if we aren't, if we are to take our cues from nature, Even nature understands how important a good support system is. I use further down in the blog, I use the importance of an ecosystem, how the ecosystem has to work. And there are certain things that must be in place, and certain animals have to do what they need to do, and certain flowers and certain weather conditions have to be in place. So there's a support system there that's creating balance. And if we as mental health family caregivers are not reaching out, if we are not building a support system, we're not creating balance. We are creating an imbalance, one that we ourselves will wind up paying very heavily for in the end. I've shared, many times here on the scope how me, myself, how I've, had to learn a very difficult lesson during my time as a family caregiver. I had to learn that anxiety can visit you. I had to learn how depression can take over your life. I had to learn that high blood pressure can be your good friend if you are not taking care of yourself physically, right? And so I share that often, not just here. I share that with, family caregivers who I talk to. I share that online with family caregivers. I share it when I go to the emergency rooms, to the convalescent homes, to the mental health hospital, the state hospital, Ben Taub here. I make sure that when I'm talking to family caregivers that I express to them, look, I've been down this road. I know what neglect does to us. I know where we can wind up. I know how if we neglect our own self-care, our loved ones can wind up in the care of someone anyway, right? I had a family caregiver tell me, well, my loved one doesn't want to, be with anyone else. She doesn't want to, let anyone else come in. She's only comfortable with me. She doesn't even like family members to come in. And that's when I said, okay, well, you have to think about it like this. What happens to your loved one if you get sick and you have to be taken away or you are incapacitated for some time? Your loved one's going to be uncomfortable anyway, right? Because someone has to come in and take care of them while you're tending to your better, your health getting better. So when we say those things, we have to remember that there is a plus and a negative to that situation, because you can do it now or you can do it later. That's what it comes down to. And so I wanted to share 3 things with you that you can do as a mental health family caregiver, that you can make sure that you're keeping yourself at the front of your mind, right? That is ultimately the goal that we really want, is because we have to be, happy. We don't have to be extremely happy, but we have to be able to have a life that we love. B. Hodge, thank you for coming back. We have to have a life that we love. We have to have one that makes us comfortable at least, right? And then as time progresses and we get better control over, our health, we get better control over the care demands that we have with our loved ones. We're able to be more relaxed in our caregiving role, right? Because when you're educated on it, when you know more about the illness, when you know more about the symptoms, when you've learned how to manage the symptoms, when you've learned how to put things down in your day, how your day will go, what to do in the event of, and you've made you've made the notes that you need to be able to refer back to during the times when you may not be thinking clearly and may be under a great deal of stress and pressure, right? So that's why I stress so much to caregivers how important documentation is. So documentation on top of your self-care, on top of managing your day and not letting your day manage you, on top of how you are starting your day and how you end your day. All these things are important factors. If we don't take those into consideration, then we just are like good point. We're like, you ever saw a stalk of a grass or a weed stalk or a corn stalk even. Wherever which way the wind blows, that's where it's leaning, right? The wind is in control. And that's how we are when we go through our day without any planning, without any preparation. We are going to bend, we are going to, fall, we're going to get knocked down according to the day. But if we have a plan of action, if we've sat down and devised something that works for our family, for us, and for our loved one, then we're able to recover. I used the analogy the other night about football and how an individual running down the field catches a pass and he's fumbling it. His whole intent the whole time is, it may look horrible to the onlookers, but his whole intent is, if I can get control of this ball, I can get this down. If I can get control of this ball, I can take it to the house, right? I can score for my team. And that is what we as caregivers have to be looking at our lives like. We have to be looking at it like, how can I keep me in the front of, I'm looking at the time because I've been making sure I'm going to keep myself to my 30-minute mark. And so, we want to make sure that we're looking out for our best interests first as the caregiver, then for our families and our loved one, right? Because if we can't do that, if we can't take care of us first, then we put everyone at risk. Whether you realize it or not, you put everyone at risk. Because if you're the only one who can care for everyone, what happens if you get incapacitated? What happens if you wind up in the hospital? Things are going to be really bad for your loved ones. So this is not just you looking out for yourself. You are making a decision to take care of your loved ones as well and taking care of yourself. So 4 things that I wanted to share with you. Make your self-care your priority. Get up an hour earlier. You hot? It too hot on Gumma? It too hot on you, Gumma. I just panting. They're my baby. Get up an hour earlier to read your Bible, pray, and meditate. Go for a brisk walk or work out. Number 2, beware of the predators, which are depression, anxiety, hypertension, diabetes, heart attack, and a host of other physical ailments. Keeping yourself, in front of your doctor, in front of your physician, in front of your primary care physician, making sure you're doing your annual checkup, making sure when you don't feel good that you tell somebody, including your doctor. Making sure that you are talking and communicating with your neighbors, especially if you're in a position where you have your own physical ailments that may cause you to, be unconscious or could, be dangerous for you in the event that they're neglecting if something happens to you. Someone needs to know, hey, we haven't seen so-and-so in a few days. Hey, we haven't seen, them and come out the house or whatever. Let's go and check and make sure they're okay, or has anyone called to check on them? That's if you don't have family and friends that you can have to come and check on you, right? That's necessary. It's very important. And as I mentioned, those predators that prey upon us physically, those predators that prey upon us physically are dangerous. Those things can cost us our lives. And I talked about that on Wednesday, about how as caregivers, we have some caregivers who are losing their lives long before their loved one even passes away. The loved one is healthier than the caregiver because they're taking such good care of the loved one and neglecting themselves. Number 3 is beware of procrastination. When you know you need to get extra help and you're unable to break away from your chores or your care demands, that choice comes back to haunt you in the end, right? Procrastination. Thank you for the hearts. If you do not take care of getting you some assistance up front, if you don't take care of putting plans of action into place for your loved one, for yourself, for the care, for, support, if you don't do it now, you will do it later. And it may be under duress. And it may not be you doing it. It may be a social worker that had to come in as a result of now you are incapable of doing it. You're in the hospital. So someone had to come in because there's no one you've set in place. Or there's no family members or no friends who can take over. So now your loved one winds up what? In the custody of the state. And I'm not talking bad about the state. I haven't heard anything here in Texas, but I've heard some horrible horror stories. Back home when I was in California, I've heard horror stories from people who were nurses in those homes and from people who had loved ones in those homes. And actually from my auntie who was in a convalescent home. And had it not been for having family that was able to go and check on her, she would have been in a bad place. A lot of loved ones wind up with pressure ulcers that can, if they have other health conditions like diabetes or like that, can be can cost them their lives. So these are things we should think about, as loved ones, especially those of us who are caring for loved ones who may be bedridden and may be suffering with dementia or other physical illnesses that prevent them from being able to, care for themselves, and to be, and something happens to us, to be able to call out and reach for help, right? And so number 4 is, excuse me, when you pray for help and it shows up, step out on faith and take it. A lot of times when you pray for help, you say, Lord, I need your help. I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't know how I'm going to make it through this, but I need your help, Lord. Can you please send me someone to help me, or can you please send me a sign of what to do? And then someone shows up, and then because it doesn't look like what you wanted, because it doesn't sound like what you wanted, then you don't take it. Help is help, you guys. Help is help. And especially someone who reaches out to you to help you with no charge, with no begging or pleading with you to, oh, you need to pay for this service, or you need to do this, or you need to do that. There are so many caregivers that I have reached out to that I could help, and I've tried without even asking for a fee, and they will block me at the door. I just want to tell you about what's going on. That's fine too. I have caregivers I call once a week so that we can talk, so that I can help them through very tough times if necessary. We talk 20 minutes. I have 20 minutes of no fee. I talk with you. We work through whatever problems you may have. That's at no charge to you. So if you have that coming to you, and there's a maximum benefit that can come to you and your family, you have to ask yourself, what is it that you are really preventing? Are you preventing yourself from, being the best caregiver that you can be? Or are you preventing yourself from doing the work, right? I talked earlier today in the blog, and I have like 4 minutes left. I talked earlier today in the blog about a lot of times it comes from being tired, being overworked, being overwhelmed. What we do for our loved one in the course of the day taxes us both mentally and physically. When we are going through those difficult times, it can seem like a burden to have to add something else on top of that. A training class on top of taking care of so-and-so. What are they expecting from me? I've met a lot of hostility. But when I tell people, if you do this now, if you make the sacrifice now, the payout for you in the end is that you have a more streamlined care journey. You have a way to balance your care demands. You have a way to distribute your care demands amongst others. And even if you don't have family members, you can pull in members of the community who are volunteers, neighbors. You can pull up, people can come in and help you. I saw a message pop up. It's my reminder. I have to do something. And so what I want for any caregiver who is watching this scope and may come across this scope is to think about this. If you do not make the choices up front to go out and get the help you need, go out and get the resources that could help you with your loved one, and to ease the pressure and the stress on you, if you don't do that voluntarily, it will have to happen by force. And I'm not saying that as a means to, oh, you should come and do business with Hamaji and you should let me help you. Let someone help you. Because if you don't do it voluntarily, you will be forced into it, because your body cannot keep functioning, cannot keep operating under that amount of stress and that amount of duress day in and day out. You can't. It's impossible. You have to get a rest for yourself mentally and physically. Honestly, Catchy, thank you so much for coming in. And so I just wanted to come in today and talk with you guys about the resiliency. Caregivers really are resilient. Hi, Catchy. Thank you for joining. Caregivers really are resilient. We put up with a lot of things that most people can't put up with. I made a joke one day. I said, caregivers, we do more before 5 a.m. than most people do all day. You're late. That's okay, Catchy. Thank you for joining. And I'm actually going to put that on a t-shirt. So now it's documented. But caregivers, we do more before 5 a.m. than most people do all day. Okay? We're very resilient. The fact that we're able to, take it on the chin and get up. Yes, yes, Catchy. We're able to take it on the chin and get up. For those of us who care for loved ones with mood disorders or psychosis. And oh, yeah. I know. We're almost done. And then we could go play. Can you be quiet just a little bit more? Yes, I know. And so, yeah, I was saying that those of us who care for loved ones with mood disorders and loved ones with, dementia and psychosis and loved ones who may have eating disorders, and it's a lot of strength, a lot of patience, a lot of resiliency that must come and comes into play in order to effectively support our loved ones. So you have what it takes. You just have to make the next step. You have to be able to go, and I have 1 minute left. You have to be able to go and make the choices, the hard choices, the choices to get, thank you, Catchy, the choices to get the support. So like I said before, you don't have to come through Hamaji. You can go through, there are a host of organizations out there. If you Google, you'll find an organization. You will. Thank you for sharing, Catchy. But what I'm asking you is go through someone. Your church, your community resources, someone. So I want to thank you guys so much again for coming in, for taking your time. As caregivers, I know how difficult it is for us to break ourselves away from our loved ones. Excuse me. I know how hard it is for us to take a moment and sit down and be still. You can turn me on sometimes and just listen if you like. But please stop by hamaji.org if you're interested. I'd be more than happy to help you out. Hit the contacts page tab and send me a note with your email and a phone number where I can contact you. I love talking to people online, but if I can talk with you directly and I can get a feel for exactly what it is that you're needing, and I can talk with you about the resources in your area, that's where I make the biggest impact in your caregiving journey. Okay? Thank you so much for joining us. May God give us peace as our pillow, and may God bless us real good. I'll see you guys on Monday. Bye, Catchy. Oh, honestly, yeah, that's Catchy. Bye, Catchy. Thank you so much again.